So let's dive into a few of these things, right? What is this future that's already here in some places, but that we need to get evenly distributed so we can all get our fair share of this 50 billion? First thing, focus on viewability and yield. A lot of people are talking about this, right? But the fact is, if you have an infinite scroll page, you have ads, an infinite number of ads all the way down. But all those ads aren't valued the same, right? The ones that get seen are the ones that have value. And viewability is a terrific signal for the value of an ad impression. And so use that as a way to make sure that you're getting maximum value for what's being delivered here, right? And we're seeing more and less sort of uneven, adoption of this. But we think that driving this is what's going to help you get your fair share. And then focusing on yield management. Folks like, there are publishers out here like Pandora who do a terrific job with yield management because they gather huge amounts of data. They sift through it to look at all the different sources of demand to try and ensure that they're getting maximum value for every impression. They look at forecasting. They look at overlapping inventory. They understand the value in a bunch of different channels. All these things are things that you need when you have a finite number of opportunities to serve a marketing message. Make sure you get the most out of each one. Okay, number 2, double down on programmatic, right? Fewer ad sales people, got to have more ad sales efficiency. We've already demonstrated programmatic is growing. It's growing fast, 20 billion, and it keeps going, no end in sight. This is something we all have to double down on, especially since if we want to get from 50 billion to 100 billion, and we want to do it with the buying and selling efficiency that's going to get us there. One key piece about programmatic, make sure that you're seeing all of the supply that's out there or all of the demand that's out there. Because if you don't have unbiased access to your supply and your demand, you're not getting the best outcome for your inventory. All right, number 3, get to scale with partnerships. We're seeing this all over the place. If you're not one of those top 4 that Michael mentioned, then you probably don't have the scale to build your own tech, to really get your fair share of this. And so, very important that the people in this room think carefully about who are their partners. And we're seeing tremendous success in places like Australia and in France and the UK with publisher co-ops, where groups of publishers who were formerly competitors are now coming together to build co-ops of data, of identity information, of inventory, so that they can compete on the global scale. Very, very important. Also, make sure when you think about your relationships with your partners that you separate content partners from tech partners. If you combine those two things, you run the risk of having some significant conflicts of interest. So pay attention to who your partners are. Make sure they're working with you in an open and transparent way. All right, last thing. Don't forget your differentiation. My grandfather used to say, make sure you dance with the one that brung you, right? All of the people who are in this room, you're here because you created some fundamental differentiation. You created some great content. You did some great curation. You built some audiences. You have distribution. You have all the things that brought you here into this room, right? Don't lose sight of those. Ad tech is a necessary but not sufficient condition for your success. And more importantly, right-sizing your ad load, crucial. One thing that we found, young industries, they start with, oh, look, I can serve an ad. And then you get to the point where you're like, oh, I can serve one ad. I must be able to serve 2 ads. Now 10 ads, 20 ads. It must be better, right? No, just because you can serve more doesn't mean you should. More is not always better, right? So right-size your ad load.